Hey guys, welcome to another session of Love Thy RCs, and I have got a passage here with me. Okay, some regulatory policies. I have cherry-picked this passage from the GMAT free repository. All those of you who are doing well in RCs are requested to go to that free repository on Google and practice passages that are 600 plus. Okay, because then you get exposed to a lot of different types of questions. Okay, that will help your brain with some exercise when it comes to question stems. Okay, ये वाला passage देखते हैं क्या कह रहा है. Almost every regulatory regulatory policies that our government imposes, right? So the government says ये policy इसको regulate करना है, something has to be controlled, something has to be done, right? So it is like created to achieve some desirable social goal. All right, so 4 paragraphs, something about government behavior. Okay, what are the questions like? Central idea of the passage. So main idea question should be good. In Charles Schulz's argument, the claim is that we need to go to his para-specific. According to the author, what can be concluded? So last para, I'm going to check. Hai na? According to the passage, the author most likely agrees with all except. So true, 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 F. I'll do this in the end. First, we need to go through the passage in a very smart and organized way. Now, almost every regulatory policy is created to achieve some desirable social goal. We all know that. When more than 10,000 people are killed annually in industrial accidents, who would disagree with the goal of a safer workplace? We all would say, yes, let's go ahead and make a safer workplace. Let's do something about these accidents that are happening in the industries. Who would dissent from greater highway safety when more than 50,000 perish each year in automobile accidents? Right? Who would disagree with this? Skim kar lo thoda sa, 3-4 questions hai, sab ek hi type ke hai. He's talking about social safety, social goals. Who would disagree with policies? Okay. However, this is the important thing. The author says, who would disagree with all that? Yes, we all want that. We want social policies in place, the regulations in place. However, there may be more than one way to achieve these and many other desirable social goals. So, more than one way to achieve these. What are these? That's what he's going to discuss. Charles Schulz, आ गया जिस पे question है. Is a critic of the current state of federal regulation. He doesn't like all the regulations that are there in place. So what does he say? Schulz reviewed the regulatory activities. Okay. He concluded what? Neither agency's policies had worked well. He described the existing system. Okay, कुछ तो खराब बोला होगा. The government tells businesses how to reach certain goals, checks that these commands are followed, punishes offenders. This is something that he found out, and he says he concluded कोई भी काम सही से नहीं हो रहा था. So now Schulz will come up with some recommendation, obviously ना, कि कैसा होना चाहिए. So let's see here. Schulz advocates an incentive system. So the previous paragraph I skimmed a little bit. Even this I'm going to skim. He argues what? Instead of telling construction businesses, measuring the ladders, charging fines, imposing penalties, it would be efficient to levy a high tax on firms with excessive worker injuries. Right? So, levy a high tax on firms where there are more injuries. Levy a tax on pollution. Now I'm skimming, as you can see. Incentives, okay. Argues use market-like strategies. Incentives use market-like strategies to regulate the industry. They are more effective and efficient than command and control regulation. Simple to understand. Right? Now the last para. Not everyone is as keen on the use of these incentives as Schulz. There will be critics. Defenders, supporters जो उसके हैं क्या कहते हैं? I'm not reading. Defenders argue to ये. क्या तो ये तो defenders हो गए. Right? They also add, okay, fine. Now, Not everyone is keen on the use of incentives. Defenders of the command and control system bola hai. So actually these are critics of Schultz system. You get the point? Right? This is how we understand the paragraph without reading too much. So this para is about critics. Yeah, what are the flaws of Schultz system? Right? So defenders too, they also add, moreover it would take a large bureaucracy to monitor something. Right? So ye pura paragraph usi pe hai. To encourage businesses not to pollute. Okay. Clear? Now, I'll go over to the questions. Before that, let's quickly sum it up. Some social goal ka regulations, the author says we all would want, we all would agree. However, there are other ways also to do it, not just one regulatory wala way. Schultz comes into the picture. Schultz ne check kiya kuch 2-3 regulatory authorities, he says neither is working, right? And then he says there is a better way of doing it. Better way kya hai? Iska incentive system hai, taxing those companies that are causing pollution or harm or injury, accidents, jo bhi. But the last paragraph comes up with criticism. Done. Okay, now over to the questions. First, main idea. What is the main idea of the passage? Regulatory activities of government exist at different levels. Okay, but where is the new system? And where is the criticism? So central idea need not be a summary, but it has to have the main point na. Regulatory activities of government exist at different levels. Tone bhi nahi pata chal raha hai yahan to. They are bad or they are good or what. So this is just not the main idea. The pros and cons of using the incentive system were proposed by Schultz. Pros and cons. Cons to pura ek paragraph hai. Pros also he has given. I'll keep this. The old policies framed for workplaces could not be successful for several reasons. Okay, but this is not giving you the new part. The passage has talked about a new thing, something different. वो भी नहीं mentioned. So I'm left with B and D. D में क्या है? An overview of the regulatory policies for achieving social goals and how the incentive system can be helpful. Right? So this is giving both. Regulatory policies have been there. Overview. They have not been so successful, or maybe they are like a little successful, right? And how incentive system, the new system, comes into the picture. Between B and D, pros and cons of using this were proposed by Schultz. Pros and cons. Using the incentive system. Cons were not proposed by Schultz, right? So look at the language here, right? So definitely this is eliminated and this is your answer. Cool. Next one. In Charles Schultz's argument, the claim is that, what does he say? He talks about taxing, right? Incentive system. The use of the incentive policy is limited to just a few situations. Does he say this? No, he supports it. So why would he give you a flaw? So this is eliminated. The EPA and OSHA should not tell businesses how to regulate themselves. Regulatory policy should be created to achieve certain desirable social goals. An incentive system would be more effective and efficient than the command and control. Now, in this particular question, you don't need to overthink. I know I'm going to eliminate this, I'm going to eliminate this. ये दिखाना चाह रही हूँ मैं इस question से आपको. कभी-कभी ऐसा हुआ है CAT में. The question, the answer has been straightforward. It's given there. So he focused what? On incentive system. And he said that the command and control system could take a back seat. Incentive system could be better, right? Would be more effective than, अब ये बच्चा देखेगा बोलेगा no, this is faulty comparison. मैम ने सिखाया है, no, this is eliminated. No, but the passage has given you that. The question setter is asking you, Charles Schultz का argument में क्या था claim? This is what he claimed. So this is a straightforward one. Do not overthink. Alright guys, more effective. और बाकी तो आपने देखा कि eliminate कैसे हो रहा. First वाला जैसे I said, incentive policy is limited to just a few situations. Why would he limit it? Out. The EPA and OSHA should not tell businesses how to regulate themselves. Now, EPA and OSHA जाके देखना पड़ेगा. Regulatory policies should be created to achieve certain desirable social goals. should be regulatory. Why would he support regulatory? He wants incentive. So this is again out. Between this and this, EPA and OSHA, I think इसने यहाँ mention किया था, यहाँ. He concluded they had not worked well. Was this his claim? That they should not tell businesses how to regulate? No. He felt that they did not work because there was some problem. So his claim was this incentive system, not focused on EPA and OSHA. So this is eliminated, right? So D is your answer. Next, according to the author, what can be concluded from the passage? Conclusion. There are some flaws also besides the benefits. This is what we understood. According to the author bola hai, right? Goals leading to safer workplaces were not achieved. If incentives are provided, so social gains can be achieved. Okay. Social goals. Socially desirable behaviors need to be achieved to fulfill social goals. There are several ways in which socially desirable goals can be achieved. तो सारे confusing ही लग रहे हैं मुझे. Social goals. Now, go back to the question. According to the author, what can be concluded? Okay, I'll take you back. Here. Last para में क्या है? Not everyone is as keen. Defenders ने ये बोला. Okay, then defenders argue too that this. They also add this. Moreover, it would take a large bureaucracy to monitor carefully the level of pollution discharged. It would require complex calculation to determine the level of tax necessary to encourage businesses not to pollute. The author has not given any conclusive point here. This is totally what defenders of the regulatory system, ये वाला command and control system say. Right? So the author has shown you both the ways, regulatory and command and control, and he says here, however, there may be more than one way to achieve these and many other desirable social goals. The author thinks this, and then in order to support his point, he brings in Schulz, shows his incentive thing, and then again he shows the criticism of that. So the author doesn't stick to one point, right? Okay. So we go to this. Goals leading to safer workplaces were not achieved. Has he concluded this? No, he hasn't. If incentives are provided, social goals can be achieved. Okay, I'll keep this. But the thing is, incentives are provided, they can be achieved, then why has he given all that criticism part? Means he's being analytical. They may or may not be achieved. The last three lines tell us. However, in order to control these companies and prevent them from polluting, a bureaucracy would be needed or something of that sort. So, he's not exactly very happy about this also. Conclusive nahi dikh raha mujhe. Pucha hai concluded, right? Socially desirable behaviors need to be achieved to fulfill social goals. I'll keep this. There are several ways in which socially desirable goals can be achieved. I'll keep this. Yeah. So socially desirable behaviors need to be achieved to fulfill social goals. Let's go back. Take a large bureaucracy, monitor. It would require a complex calculation to determine, has he talked about socially desirable behavior anywhere? अगर आप C mark करते हो, that means you are applying external knowledge. He talks about the requirement of a bureaucracy and some calculations and all, but he doesn't talk about socially desirable behaviors. Right? Apna author. So this is eliminated and this is your answer. Why? Because the last line of the first para said this clearly. There are several ways, okay, this can be achieved. Socially desirable goals की बात हुई है, ठीक है, behavior की नहीं. So he has given that. Right? The last question. According to the passage, the author most likely agrees with all of the following statements except the true and one false. Incentives in the form of rewards could be given for socially valuable behaviors. Okay. Could be given. This is balanced. ठीक है. Socially valuable behaviors, incentives. Schulz का उसने दिया है. That is one way in which it can be achieved. Right? An incentive system would reward businesses that develop technology to reduce pollution. That is what he says there. An incentive system would involve developing standards for thousands of pollution sources Regulatory policies have been created to address workplace and highway safety, discrimination and pollution. Now we need to go back and check a little bit, right? यहाँ पे ये वाला तो दिख रहा है, this is true. Regulatory policies have been created to address workplace and highway safety, discrimination and pollution. Regulatory policies, they are there, right? Highway safety, discrimination, policy, pollution. यहाँ देखो आप first para में, यहाँ regulatory activities of environmental protection, occupational safety, this. Okay, Schultz said neither had worked very well, but they are there in place, right? So we go over to this question. Have been created? Yes, this is true. So I'm left with B and C. Now between B and C, look for the difference. An incentive system would reward businesses that develop technology to reduce pollution. Okay, incentive system. क्या करेगा? Reward businesses, technology. I'll go back and look for that. Incentive system is here. More efficient to levy a high tax. Instead of trying to develop standards, it would be easier to levy a high tax who cause pollution. Even provide incentives in the form of rewards, socially valuable behavior, as developing technology to reduce this. In incentives, okay, regulate industry. So technology ka he has said, right? So incentive would reward businesses. Yes, this is true. Now we are left with C. Let's check what it says. An incentive system would involve developing standards for thousands of pollution sources. Standards. No, this is what was connected with regulation. जो regulating policies बोला है ना उसने, command and control. तो ये standards तो वही हुआ ना. This is the standard, set standard. So this is command and control. So incentive system would not focus on this. So this is your answer. Hope this is clear, guys. Triple D, C, all done, sorted. Thank you very much. I'm going to see you again.